You finally get what you wanted. Answers, revenge, the apology. So why does it still hurt? Cartoons are full of characters chasing exactly this, like the son who tracks down his deadbeat father, or the prince who reclaims his stolen honor. They get what they want, and yet somehow they still feel empty inside. Which leaves the question, what if getting answers actually keeps us stuck in the very pain we're trying to escape? The truth about closure is harder to accept than you think, because sometimes the thing we believe will save us is the exact thing keeping us trapped. To understand how this trap works, we'll start with the most heartbreaking example. A boy who spent years believing that finding his father would fill the hole inside him, and instead got something completely different. For years, Finn carried a story about his father. Maybe his dad was a hero fighting some cosmic threat. Maybe he was trapped somewhere, desperate to return. So when Finn tracked Martin to the interdimensional prison called the Citadel, he was determined to save his father and finally get his answers. But the moment Finn frees Martin, his fantasy crumbles. There's no gratitude, no recognition, no love, nothing. Martin simply treats Finn like a get-out-of-prison card, nothing more.
What? No Star Skipper.
And when Finn desperately asks about his abandonment as an infant, Martin just deflects with complete indifference.
Who knows? Like, maybe you left me.
But Finn won't accept this. As Martin escapes through a portal, Finn grabs on, screaming for answers, holding as tightly as he can. His grass sword reacts to his panic, growing into a massive thorny arm, and Finn literally can't let go of his father without tearing himself apart. But Martin actually escapes, while Finn's entire arm gets ripped off and Finn himself falls into the sea. When the healing fluid touches Finn's arm stump, it only grows a small flower instead of his arm like it had Martin's leg. Even magic can't seem to fix what Martin's rejection broke. Finn's response to this trauma shows us exactly how the closure trap works. He doesn't accept what happened, and instead tries to force resolution. In the tower, Finn builds a massive tower reaching into space, planning to find Martin and literally punch him in the face. He wants to rip off his favorite arm as payback. When Princess Bubblegum stages a fake Martin for him to beat up, doing the exact thing that Finn thinks will help give him closure, it doesn't actually help. Finn just gets tired instead of getting better.
How you feeling?
Neutral, I guess. I don't want to punch my dad anymore.
The tower eventually collapses and crushes part of the Candy Kingdom, and Finn's attempt at fixing things by force just creates more problems instead. But Finn doesn't give up just yet. In Breezy, we see Finn's complete emotional breakdown and how he tries to find himself in the aftermath. He goes on some love quests, kissing various princesses in a desperate attempt to feel something positive. When a young bee named Breezy falls in love with his arm flower and asks his arm flower to stay with her forever, Finn can only tell her,
I don't feel anything.
he wants to feel love and connection, but it's simply not possible because of his recent trauma. That's the thing nobody talks about with family trauma. Sometimes the answer isn't fixing the broken relationship. Sometimes it's realizing that you already have what you were looking for, and you shouldn't need that other person. By the comet, when Finn finally gets offered the chance to leave his human life behind and go on to the next realm of possibility and escape all of his painful memories, he instead chooses to stay. Not for Martin, but for Jake, his friends, and the people who actually show up for him, the people who actually already love him, not a fantasy that he created. The closure wasn't healthy for him. He made up something in his mind that wasn't real, and when something in real life didn't work out, he crumbled. Finn chased closure and answers from someone who abandoned him, and when he got that closure, it wasn't what he wanted to hear. But what happens when closure becomes solely about revenge instead? Rick Prime had murdered Rick C-137's wife, Diane, and his daughter Beth, and then disappeared into the infinite multiverse. This leads to Rick's entire existence spanning around one simple equation: kill Rick Prime, end grief somehow, and third step here. So, he spent years hunting Prime across dimensions, killing countless other Ricks in the process. Rick called Prime the holy grail of his obsession, the one target that would eventually supposedly fix everything broken inside of him and give him the ultimate closure. So, when Rick finally corners Prime in Unmort Rickon, this should be the moment of ultimate satisfaction, the revenge he's been building toward for decades. And the actual kill is brutal, but it doesn't lead to what you'd expect from a victory. Rick beats Prime to death with his bare fists, blood splattering the walls. It is brutal, and I would definitely do that to someone who killed any of my family members, so yeah, I feel it. And even while dying, Prime mocks Rick the entire time.
What's your life without me? Let's find out.
He laughs, showing no fear, denying Rick even the satisfaction of seeing his own enemies suffer. Rick emerges covered in blood and viscera, with completely empty eyes, while his family goes back to normal life around him. His revenge is complete. His entire life's purpose of searching out the one who killed his family is now dead at his hand. But this closure, it didn't bring him anything. It didn't bring him back his love. It didn't bring him back any positive emotions. So what's the point? We see this further in Fear No Mort, where we see what Rick does with his victory. He encounters a perfect simulation of his dead wife Diane inside something called the Fear Hole. He could choose to stay with her forever. Instead, he turns away. Even with his revenge complete, Rick still can't face what he actually lost. Rick's mistake was thinking that changing his external situation would fix his internal state. He won the fight, he got his justice, but none of that addressed why he was actually broken. It didn't bring anyone back. Revenge changes the power dynamic, not the person. Prime being dead doesn't teach Rick how to process grief in a healthy way, or how to build genuine connections with people, or how to improve his life going on. Rick got his closure, and then he discovered the uncomfortable truth. Closure itself doesn't heal you. Finding the right answer, killing the person you hate, doing the thing, doesn't make you a whole person. It just removes one excuse for staying broken. It removes one focus. So then you have to focus on something else. And without learning new ways to handle pain, things like vulnerability, setting boundaries, victory just becomes another empty space to fill with the same old problems. So Rick got his revenge, and he felt nothing. But Rick was actually chasing something he could control, Prime's death. But what happens when you spend your life trying to earn validation from the very person who broke you instead of their demise? When 13-year-old Zuko spoke out against a general's plan to sacrifice new soldiers as bait, he thought he was being honorable, but his father saw it differently. Ozai forced Zuko into an Agni Kai against himself, and when Zuko refused to fight his own father, Ozai burned his face and banished him, calling it shameful weakness. The message was very clear to Zuko. Honor meant obedience. Honor was something your father gave you and something your father could take away. But there was a way to earn it back. Capture the Avatar, prove your worth, and everything would return to normal. So Zuko spent years chasing this promise, this unsolvable effort, and what he discovered about honor would turn everything he thought he believed upside down. Zuko wasn't prepared for the moment that he'd have to choose between his father's approval and his own conscience, and it happened in the most ordinary place imaginable, a random Earth Kingdom village. Zuko was traveling undercover when he saw Fire Nation soldiers bullying a local family. Although his overall mission was to capture the Avatar, not play hero to strangers, he stepped in anyway. And when the villagers asked who he was, Zuko told the truth.
My name is Zuko, son of Ursa and Fire Lord Ozai, Prince of the Fire Nation and heir to the throne.
The villagers reject him, and even the boy he just saved looked at him with fear and hatred in his eyes. And for the first time, Zuko truly saw how the rest of the world viewed his precious Fire Nation. He'd done the right thing here and saved innocent people from bullies, but he got nothing but rejection for it. The honor his father promised him felt more distant than ever. But something else was starting to surface, a question that Zuko had never dared ask himself. What if everything he'd been taught about honor was wrong? That question would haunt Zuko for months, until his sister Azula showed up with an offer that seemed too good to be true. Their father regretted the banishment and told Zuko that he could come home. He could have his title back, his place in the family, everything he'd spent years fighting for, and instead of capturing the Avatar, all he had to do was help capture Ba Sing Se, the city. So he turned on the Avatar when it mattered most. He chose his father's approval over his own growing conscience, convincing himself that this was his chance to finally get his life back, his honor back. And for a brief moment, it seemed like it worked. Ozai welcomed him home as a hero. The approval and the love and the admiration that Zuko had craved for years was finally his. But instead of feeling whole, he felt angrier than ever, because deep down he knew he'd betrayed himself to get there. And that's when Zuko realized that you can't build real honor on a foundation of lies. Every day he spent in the palace, surrounded by the approval he'd always wanted, having earned the closure, having earned the love of his peers and his father, just felt like wearing clothes that didn't fit. So Zuko made a choice that would have seemed impossible years earlier. He quietly left his title behind, he joined the Avatar, and he started doing the actual work, teaching Aang firebending, helping with missions, proving through actions rather than words that he'd changed and become a new person. When Zuko finally defeated Ozai with his friend's help and became Fire Lord, his coronation speech revealed how completely his understanding of honor had transformed.
The road ahead of us is challenging. 100 years of fighting has left the world scarred and divided. But with the Avatar's help, we can get it back on the right path.
Notice what he didn't say. He didn't talk about reclaiming his honor or proving his worth as some series of events or something he did. Instead, he talked about restoring the honor of his nation, about service, responsibility, and repair. This wasn't about a series of events that finished his honor and he just filled up a bar chart and then he had his honor back. It's never over. Once he felt that he was in a good place, he felt that he could help his country and their honor as well. And his victory doesn't end the responsibilities. It opens up a lifetime of new ones. Closure and winning isn't the end of the book, it's just the end of a chapter and the beginning of a new one. And to Zuko, honor was never this trophy that he could win back or earn as this item through one big achievement and then achieve closure. Ta-da, you did it, you achieved honor, you achieved it. That's not how honor works, that's not how any of this works. No external validation will ever fill the hole left by not believing in yourself, by knowing that you could be doing better. No title, no relationship, no achievement will ever make you feel worthy if you don't already know you are. Real honor isn't something that someone else gives you or takes away. It's how you act when no one else is watching. It's how you think of yourself. It's how you choose to do the right thing even when it costs you something, and how you feel good about yourself doing that. Zuko always had honor. Even his banishment came from trying to protect the soldiers' lives from being thrown away in some unnecessary war. He just couldn't see how honorable he really was when he was trying to chase his father's version of it, when he was trying to chase his father's love. This leaves one last version of closure, one that doesn't come out of needing someone's approval, but someone's forgiveness. Many of us have that one relationship that we destroyed that haunts us, that person whose forgiveness would prove that we're not actually a bad person, that we didn't hurt them, that we didn't do such a bad thing. For BoJack Horseman, that person was Erb Kazaz. And for 20 years, BoJack believed that if he could just get Erb to forgive him, he could finally stop being the villain of his own story. But some conversations don't go the way you've rehearsed them. In the 1980s, Erb was the guy who believed in him when no one else did. Erb even created Horsing Around specifically for BoJack, turning a struggling comedian into a star. But when the network caught Erb in a compromising situation with another man, the network threatened to fire him. So Erb asked BoJack to have his back. If they fired Erb, BoJack should threaten to quit too, and BoJack agreed, telling Angela from the network,
Well, if he goes,
you
I
go,
go.
I wouldn't do that.
But then Angela made promises about his future, the movies he could star in, the career he could have, if only he just stayed on the show. Eventually, despite promising to stand by his friend, BoJack chose his career over Erb. Erb got fired and blacklisted, and BoJack never called Erb, not once in 20 years, not to apologize, not to ask how he was doing, nothing. For 2 decades, BoJack just told himself that it was just business, that it was just how it works, it's just a cutthroat industry. But deep down, he knew he'd abandoned the person who'd given him everything. When BoJack learns that Erb is dying of cancer, he sees a chance for closure. He brings up his bravery just enough to drive to Malibu, practice his apology, and prepare for the forgiveness scene that he's been rehearsing in his head for decades. And at first, it seems to go well. Erb and BoJack banter, they share past memories, but when BoJack finally delivers his rehearsed apology, Erb's response shatters everything.
Yeah, and I do not forgive you.
Erb explains what BoJack can't understand. The apology was always entirely about BoJack. He didn't come to acknowledge Erb's pain. He came to be absolved of his own guilt. And what hurt most wasn't even the original betrayal, it was the 20 years of silence that followed.
No, I'm not gonna give you closure. You don't get that. You have to live with the shitty thing you did for the rest of your life. You have to know that it's never, ever going to be okay.
After this rejection, most people would accept that lesson and work on themselves because that is something intense and real. BoJack did the opposite, though. Instead of accepting Herb's refusal, BoJack spirals deeper into the exact behaviors that prove Herb's point. This pattern reveals BoJack's fundamental misunderstanding. He still believes that forgiveness and closure was something he could earn through the right words or actions. But what happens when even the possibility of earning it gets taken away forever? What if they just won't forgive you? Herb dies in a freak accident. At the funeral, BoJack rallies the Horsin' Around cast on a treasure hunt for Herb's gold, believing that this posthumous quest might let him honor Herb's last wish and finally make things right. But even this gesture is about BoJack's need for absolution rather than honoring Herb. When the treasure hunt leads nowhere meaningful, the truth hits.
I just wanted to fix things, somehow.
I'm sorry, horse guy, but you can't.
BoJack's mistake was thinking that forgiveness was something final that he could earn through the right words or gestures or actions or something that he could do. But forgiveness doesn't work that way. Healing doesn't require the other person's permission. If you're gonna do that on your own. But you shouldn't seek them and you shouldn't seek their forgiveness as if that'll fix you. It requires taking ownership of the damage that you yourself caused, making consistent changes to how you actually treat people, and accepting that you might have to live with the guilt forever and that you might never get that person's forgiveness. Forgiveness belongs to the person who was harmed. Your job isn't to earn it, they don't owe it to you. Your job is to become someone who won't ever cause that harm again, even if that forgiveness never comes. Some relationships can't be repaired. Sometimes you don't get the closure you want, but that doesn't mean that you can't heal and move on. So what do Finn, Rick, Zuko, and BoJack all teach us about the illusion of closure? Every one of these characters kind of got exactly what they thought would fix them, but none of them felt any better afterward. Learning the truth about Martin didn't heal Finn's abandonment wound. Killing Rick Prime didn't bring back Rick's family. Defeating Ozai didn't erase Zuko's scar. Getting to confront Herb didn't absolve BoJack's guilt. Because closure isn't something that happens to you, it's something that happens inside you. You can get all the answers you want, but if you're still the same person, you'll just find new things to feel broken about. You'll just find new people who will need to forgive you for your actions. But if you learn to fix yourself, if you learn to forgive yourself and give yourself closure, it won't rely on them to forgive you, even if you have harmed them, and you should ask their forgiveness. It doesn't require their forgiveness to get that closure. Notice what actually worked for the characters who got better. Finn healed by building new bonds with people who showed up for him, making new friends, becoming part of his community. Zuko healed through his service to others and making amends to the people his family had hurt. Rick is still working on it, and so is BoJack, but I think they got it eventually. They just need to see some good therapists. If you've been chasing closure the way these characters have, here's what actually helps. Replace "I just need closure" with "I need a process to better myself." Closure suggests that there's an end point, a moment when you'll finally be over it, and that'll be the end of the story. But healing is ongoing. Find a therapist, build structure, get friends, join a community, walk outside, eat some grass, create systems that support your growth instead of waiting for one conversation to fix everything, right? Replace that one conversation, replace the idea of closure with repeated behavior. We love the idea that the right words or the right actions at the right moment will change everything. But trust isn't rebuilt with simple apologies. It's rebuilt through your actions over time. Healing happens over time, not just in one moment. Replace "fix the past" with "build the present and future." You can't undo what happened, but you can choose what you do today and tomorrow and the day after that. Focus on the roles that you want to play, the rituals that ground you, the responsibilities that give your life meaning. Kind of like the responsibility to give us a like and a comment and subscribe to our channel. If the need for closure is something you're still chasing, also check out our video on the dark side of chasing love. It'll give you some more insights that you could use to grow out of this spiral. And speaking of spiral your mouse all over the way down to the like button, give that a click, leave us a like, maybe subscribe if you haven't already, and thank you so much for watching this video till the end. I hope you join us for other videos in the future. I'll see you there. Peace.